Airbnb host left me an unfair review, and it cost them hundreds. I recently attended a friend's wedding a few hours away from home, and the GF and I decided to get an Airbnb so she could bring her dog. We found a nice place that allowed pets, took off early from work, and arrived Friday late afternoon. About 30 minutes later, the owner shows up to see how we're doing while we have the dog on the porch. We make some small talk, and he mentions that we didn't indicate we were bringing a dog. I felt bad, as it was an honest mistake, and I'd never lie to someone to get out of paying the pet fee. We tell him that, and offer to pay the $25 fee on the spot. He refuses to take the money, and says that he loves dogs and eventually heads out. We don't think too much else about it, but when we leave, we decide to give the place a much more thorough cleaning than was in the instructions. The dog didn't chew any furniture or leave any other damage or mess, at least that we didn't clean up. In our minds, the trip was a success and the Airbnb was a great fit. I got the email from them to leave a review, and I left a 5-star review and said the house and the owner were great. But then I saw his review of me, and a private message where he blasted me for not telling him that I was bringing a dog, how dogs causes them so much more work, and how we shouldn't leave dogs alone in the house. This didn't sit well with me at all, since I thought we had handled this person to person when he came by on the first day. I was, and still am, happy to pay for the pet fee, and there was no indication anywhere on the posting that we couldn't leave the dog alone for a few hours while we were at a wedding. Nor did he say that while we chatted and told him we were here for a wedding. For him to post that on my Airbnb profile felt like a cheap shot. I responded to him that in the chat and said as much, and while Airbnb couldn't do anything about the review, since it didn't violate any of their policies, my GF did point out that hosts aren't supposed to show up to the property unannounced. I had no idea and figured this was his property and he is allowed to show up, at least to check in with the guests. Normally, I wouldn't care, especially since it was a very cordial interaction, but since he took a cheap shot with my review, I decided to do the same. I reached out to Airbnb support to tell them about his unannounced visit, and they forwarded it to their security team. I answered a few questions about the interaction, and they spoke to him. A week or so later, they let me know that he was in violation of their policy, and they refunded me 2/3 days of the stay, which came out to about $200, all because of a bad review. Was the petty revenge justified? Comment below and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more.